everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning for wherever you're watching me from the world. How are you all doing today? Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Power Woman series. This is a platform where power women across the world come to share their authentic, insightful, and transformational stories to inspire, motivate, and encourage others to live a life beyond ordinary. My name is Seun Akinloton, and I am the founder of On Point Success, a creative agency that specializes in branding, digital marketing, and website development. I'll be your host for today, and my guest is Tobiloba Ajayi, a disability management advocate blazing the trail in Lagos State, Nigeria. Tobiloba Ajayi holds a bachelor's degree in law from Igbenedion University, Okada, Edo State, Nigeria, and she also has a master's degree in law from the University of Hertfordshire, Hatfield, United Kingdom. In law from the University of everyone. All right, so if you're hearing me, can you let me know where you're logged in from? Just leave your name and your location in the comment box, and we shall bring in Tobiloba Ajayi very soon, in a few seconds actually. And you can also share this video if you're joining us from YouTube or from Facebook or LinkedIn. All right, can we have Tobiloba? Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining in today. How are you doing today from Lagos, Nigeria?
I am well.
Awesome. I know it's been a long day, and it's actually been a long week for a lot of us, either mentally or physically, with everything going on in Nigeria. But we're so happy that the youth are finally saying something, and we're looking forward to a reformed or renewed Nigeria. Hopefully, it's going to happen very soon, and Nigeria can actually take its place in the Committee of Nations. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so happy to have you on board. I've heard about all the good works you've been doing, and I say kudos to you. And I pray that God will continue to give you the strength to do all that you do, and that He alone will reward you greatly. Now, let's get started. Let's get started. So, who is Tobiloba Ajayi? Tell us all about you, what you stand for, what you represent, and what you want people to know about you.
So do you want the short, the medium, or the long version?
Any version you give us is fine.
Okay, so I'll try and be nice and just find the medium version somewhere. So I like to say that I'm a disability management advocate, and I've had people ask me, what the heck is that? How do I explain this? Disability management is basically saying that people who live with disabilities should be given the tools they require to manage those disabilities, and they shouldn't be seen as different for living with a disability. And so I advocate for effective disability management. Okay, wait, where's my host? I think my host is disappeared off the screen now.
Put me back. I'm not disappearing. We're just giving you the floor to express yourself.
All right, just checking. So that's what basically disability management is. But I'm a big advocate for disability management. This comes from my own personal experience of actually living with a disability my whole life. And realizing that the average Nigerian, let me not say African, the average Nigerian's attitude to disability is that it should be cured or prayed away.
Well,
yes. If you have a conversation with five people without disabilities about a disability, they're going to talk to you about, does it not have a cure? Have you prayed? Are you sure you? Then they'll, don't worry, they'll give you a list of maybe pastors or mountains.
Are you
And
serious?
maybe, seriously, come on now. And Nigerians, they will tell you about, have you seen this pastor? Of course, all the popular
Yeah.
miracle working pastors. And they'll tell you about all the mountains that you should maybe have. Maybe if you prayed harder or had more faith, And for, it was interesting because for when I was younger, I kind of course, if you're raised with performative respect, as Nigerians are raised with, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of don't argue these things. But as I began to really come into my own person, I started to say, look, I mean, I am who I am and it's fine. Okay. Difference is difference and difference isn't wrong. So everyone should stop making it seem like something is wrong with me just because I'm different, right? And that
Yes.
is okay to, I mean, I will not say because you have a disability, then you let yourself go. No, manage your disability properly so that you can live your best life. And
Life.
so
Manage your disability properly so that you
so
can
that you
live
can
the best.
live your best life. I'm not asking you to deny it. I'm not asking you to make it your entire identity either, but manage it properly and then go on and live your best life. And so I'm a disability management advocate who's been working in disability management for, now that I think about it, 12 years. Wow. Okay.
12 years you've been doing this. Wow. So
Um,
when you were growing up and
mhm.
you realized that you had a condition or
Yes.
you were living with disability,
Mhm.
how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel, did you make you
Hmm.
feel like you didn't fit in or you
Not
felt okay with
necessarily.
it? Okay.
Not necessarily. First of all, I don't think I even realized that I was different until I was about 5. For some very weird reason. I was raised in a household that was basically a very equality, focused household.
Okay.
So for a very long time I did not know that there were households that had gender rules. Because in my household there were no gender rules. The boys cooked, the girls washed cars.
Okay.
There were no
So,
gender roles.
okay.
So I because of that mindset that we were raised with, I wasn't treated differently by the members of my household. And now let me explain that when I say I wasn't treated differently. Was my disability accommodated for? Yes.
Okay.
But was I now treated was I now treated specially or treated differently because I was disabled? No. So things like, if you, in a typical Nigerian household, if you misbehave, you get spanked. No man, the spanking went round very equally. There was no story about,
So
let's pity.
you weren't spared.
No, I wasn't spared. I mean, even the house chores went around quite equally. Even if your own, you have to do it by
What
sitting on
number
a
are
chair.
you in the family? How many siblings do you have?
I have 4 siblings, 3 older and 1 younger.
Okay, so you're five in total.
Yes, and
So,
I'm number 4.
oh, okay, so you're almost to the end.
Almost, almost to the end. And
Okay.
trust me, oh God, my siblings will not let me leave it down. My friend, you cannot be in this house and do chores for you. I mean, they will still come back and help you, but they would still pull the rank of, oh, yeah, I'm older
Wow.
than you, so you get to do the chores. And that came from the equality mindset that with which we were raised. So you were not allowed to pity anyone.
You were not allowed to pity anyone. And
Yes,
I think that's important even for self-esteem, because
yes,
if you live in an environment whereby everyone was treated equally, then it leaves very little chance for you to feel out of place, and then it
exactly.
builds your self-esteem. So I really love that, and kudos to your parents. Now I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about your mom. I
Mm.
know that I read some things about your mom that you've written by yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
I read it. You talked passionately about your mom and how she helped you through the major challenges, and help you to become. She's part of your story basically. So I just wanted
Yeah.
you to share some few experiences or some few things that you felt your mom did in the good way that has helped you or shaped you to become the woman that you are today?
So that's a lot, because it's weirdly though, my mom passed when I was 15 years old, and so it was basically 15 years of, I
Okay.
mean, just I guess I like to call it 15 years of Yoruba mother upbringing. The woman just did not have children. It
Hmm.
was, I think that for her,
Hmm.
knowing the society that she was raising a child in,
Okay.
she decided that she was going to do it a little differently. So people would deride her basically for having a disabled child. I mean, it was normal.
How is
People would
that
say,
a fault? And
we're Africans, sorry. So people would say to her, I mean, she was in the medical field, so it was even worse for her. So they would say to her,
oh, was she a doctor?
she was a nurse
Okay, yes.
midwife. So
Okay.
they would say to her that, oh, so with all your medical knowledge, you don't even have a solution to your child's problem.
Are you
You
serious?
know, my childhood was fun because, and when I say fun, it's because now I can look back and laugh
And laugh about it.
because she used to, because again, I have cerebral palsy, which means that I have difficulties with movement and posture, which means I can't walk around a lot. So I was basically like her handbag. So she was,
Hmm.
she had to take me with her places. So you know how they forget that there's a child in the room, especially if the child is very quiet and doesn't make noise. And I was that child that would just sit in one corner and just
And
shut
you
up my
couldn't say
mouth.
anything.
And I don't say anything unless you actually speak to me. So then they'll be talking about me like I'm not in the room. It used to
Oh,
be
they
so
don't even realize
hilarious.
that you're right there.
Like I think they just to forget. I don't know. I think they just to forget. And then they just be running
They are
commentary. Like running commentary. And so now that I'm older, I say to parents that I work with, I say, I beg you by the mercies of God, never forget that your disabled child can hear you.
Hmm.
Hmm. Because the truth is that they will hear things now that they will never forget in the
Forget.
next
And it
25
keeps
years.
replaying in their minds.
And
Wow.
it will determine the relationship they will have with you when they're adults. So you better be careful the things you say about your child in their presence. Because I
Wow.
think that because your child is silent, especially if your child is non-verbal. In my own case, I was even verbal, but I also had selective mutism in the sense that I determined where I wanted to speak and where I didn't want to.
So you're kind of introverted. That's
I
what
am
introverts
still,
do.
yeah, I am still introverted till date. My friends don't. I mean, my close friends know. But if you're meeting me on the outside, you probably think I'm some basic full-time extrovert, which I'm not. So
Okay.
because I've always been selectively mute, people just forget I'm in the room and then they would just talk. But
Wow.
my mom, I mean, one of the things that I learned from her and I've continued to use is the ability to take criticism,
Hmm.
right, and then turn it into opportunity.
Results.
So when people say to my mom, um, your child is never going to be independent.
Hmm. Those are strong words.
So my mom says, okay, I hear you. You have valid. You have a point there because this CP thing. Then my mom gets
What's
home and
CP? For people that are watching and they don't know what
okay.
CP is, what's
All
CP?
right, so cerebral palsy, basically CP is an acronym for cerebral palsy. Cerebral meaning brain, palsy meaning the inability to use muscles. When you put it together, cerebral palsy is a condition that's characterized by damage to the developing brain somewhere during pregnancy, delivery, or within the first 3 years of life that
Okay.
results in the inability to use your muscles.
Your
Now,
mom.
because
Okay.
every part of your body is muscles, including your eyes, including your throat, including even your ability to use the toilet,
Yes.
anything that is muscles can be affected by cerebral palsy. So
Oh wow.
therefore, if you line up 15 of us with a cerebral palsy diagnosis, we will have 15 different presentations and 15
Okay.
different needs. We will not look the same. We will
Okay.
not need the same things. We will not
Okay.
even have the same conditions, which is
Okay.
why when I say I'm a disability management advocate, I know what I'm talking about because managing cerebral palsy is an individualistic thing.
Thing. So it's not like there's a general thing that you can
Mm-mm,
use to manage this particular condition.
mm-mm. It's
Oh wow.
individualistic. You're going to have to build what is your own management plan based on how your own cerebral palsy presents.
Okay.
because it presents differently in every single person that
And
has
every
it.
single person. So Queenette is saying that never speak ill of a child in their presence. They never
Oh,
forget. And children don't forget whether it's ill, whether it's good,
it's
whether
good.
it's bad.
They just won't.
Children always remember. Like I
Yes.
remember a lot of things that were said to me when I was 7 years old. Like I can still
Oh,
see the picture. I can tell the person that said it. So it's really
oh, wow.
Yes, I can tell the person that said, I can tell the location that that message was said. Of course, I'm not going to remember everything, but I do remember some key things that,
Yeah.
keep replaying in my mind, and I can describe in vivid detail everything that happened, what that person said. So words are really important, and we need to truly weigh our words when we are dealing with other people. So I
Yeah.
wanted to know, growing up with a disability in Nigeria, cerebral palsy to be specific, you had the opportunity to go to school, all
Oh,
thanks
yeah.
to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
How was she able to help you integrate in school? And how were your other schoolmates? How were they able to receive you? Did you feel like, you were included? Let's talk
Yeah.
about inclusion for you.
Yeah. So let me backtrack to kind of first of all how I was raised, because if you don't understand how I was raised, you will not understand how we got to inclusion.
Okay.
First of all, my mother had a saying. If I try to translate it in English, we will lose some things in translation.
We'll
So I'm going
lose.
to say it in Yoruba. Then I
Okay.
want to say in Yoruba, and then I'm going to try to translate it. My mother would basically say to me that it's a melu. And then of course don't respond. If you know you grew up in Yoruba, so don't respond. Just be looking. Ẹsẹ̀ ló ń dùn ẹ́, orí ẹ̀ ò dàrú.
Hmm.
And basically, what my mother is saying is your muscles are impaired, your brain is intact. If you act
Yes.
as if your brain is impaired, I will slap it back to normal settings. Let's just be clear.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that you understand clearly now that you do not have a cognitive impairment. You have a
Hmm.
physical impairment. And therefore, do me a favor. Use your brain to fix
Hmm.
your body. I don't want to hear that. My mother, I pity the person that will come and tell me, so mommy, I can't. Just don't finish that sentence. Because as you just started there, I
There's
can't.
nothing
Just
invisible
retract
in
it.
the dictionary.
Just retract. Just retract. Just be nice to yourself and retract it before she slaps it back into your mouth.
Okay, so what happened in school? Did you
So
feel
when
like you were included in school?
yes, I felt I was included in school because I went to an inclusive school.
Okay.
Yeah, my school was inclusive. I mean, my school already has students with disabilities before I came, and
Okay.
I was not the last person with a disability that they enrolled. I mean, I had a school owner that was very particular about teaching every child. He believed every child had the capacity to learn, and that if
Okay.
the child wasn't learning, then the teacher wasn't doing something right. So,
Absolutely.
so he didn't believe that there was a child you couldn't teach. I mean,
Okay.
my parents always attribute my getting into the education system to him because he literally told them, bring
Mhm.
her to me and go back to your office.
Wow.
I
So
mean, yeah.
did your parents sign you up for extra classes? Because I know
And
that was a thing back then. So you were just going to school based on what was being taught at school?
oh yeah, I mean, my mom was the lesson teacher. Don't worry, we don't need we don't need extra class. When my mom picks you up from school, my
Uh-huh.
mom will drive you to her office. She has
Okay.
don't worry, she has cordoned off a corner where you are going to do your work. That
Hmm.
homework is going to be done with a ruler beside you. The ruler is not for no, the ruler is not for ruling. No, don't
It's not
worry. The
for
ruler is not to
drawing
land
or
on your back
ruling.
when no, it's just to land on your back when you behave as if you cannot think.
Oh wow. When
And
you
then
don't use that your brain, the ruler will
please
straighten
use
you
that
up.
brain. And then of course, I
Hmm.
mean, she was fine because she also had the science background. I mean,
Okay.
it was okay for her to basically help us with homework throughout like primary school. So
Oh wow.
I didn't even understand the concept of lesson teachers until like senior secondary school because my mom was
She
ever
was on
ready to
top of it.
deal with. Yeah, she was on top of. I mean, she was on top of you just being a straight A student. My mom is the kind of person who will say, "Look, in my house,
Hmm.
the only grades that are accessible in this house are 70 and above. Anything below 70, don't bring it to my house. I don't
Nigeria.
want to."
70 is A. Yeah.
Yeah, 70 is A in Nigeria. So thou shalt not bring anything below 70 into my household. I was the one child.
That's
I
one
was
of
the
the
one child that
commandments.
it was a commandment. I was the one child that used to break that one and used to beat me because I can't even shout. I'm not straight to there. It was going to kill me.
That's hilarious.
you know,
Ifedapo says that, wow, your mom is such a strong woman. And Quinette says, use your brain to fix your body, fight life intelligently. Ifedapo
I
also says, this story is super inspiring. Kudos to everyone who was a part of this success. Great.
mean,
Thank you for that contribution.
thank
Now,
you.
Tobiloba, you
Mm-hmm.
studied law at the
Mm-hmm.
University of Igbenedion in
Yes.
Okada, Edo State, and you
Mm-hmm.
have a master's degree in law, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the
Yeah.
University of Hertfordshire, Atfield, United Kingdom. What inspired your choice of law? Because you told me that your mom was a science student. And
Look,
how did you? Well, I know you said she died when you were 15 years,
15,
so
yeah.
probably doesn't know about it.
No, she knew. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like she was happy, but she had to just accept her fate in this science
Okay.
that I could not do. I
Okay.
mean, she had her way, all her children with the sciences. But, well, since from primary school, I already showed her that, come,
Some people are calling me. They are calling me out here. Said, don't spell our Benin name. So how is it pronounced? What did I say wrong?
Ignatian University, Okada. Don't worry.
Igbenedion
Repping you right here.
University.
Okada, yeah. So, don't worry. No, my university classmates will soon come for you. They'll soon come for you.
Igbenedion University, Okada.
Okada, yeah, yeah. They'll soon come for you. My mom, well, that's how she wanted me to do sciences, but it was already obvious that I wasn't going to do sciences. I hated math.
Okay.
I did better with social sciences, creative writing,
Later.
creative art and stuff like that. But
Okay.
if you grow up in a Nigerian household, you got to pick what is the profession in your chosen one of the three. So you either do in secondary school, you either do science, commercial, or arts. In
Okay.
each of those bands, there are certain things that are professional according to our parents, right? So
Okay.
once you end up in that class, the only profession you have left for you is
It's
law.
law. It's either
um,
if you're in art class, you become a lawyer. If you go to
that's it.
commercial, you become an
Just
accountant.
become an accountant with
And then
this.
science, you become a
Just
doctor.
become a doctor and just rest.
Limited options.
So it's limited options, right? But apart from that, again, it wasn't just about that. It was limited options. It was also about conditioning. And
Hmm.
so, I always say to parents, be careful how you condition your children. When I
Yes.
was about 5, my dad realized. I mean, I've always been able to talk. Like even when I couldn't sit up, I could talk.
Okay.
So you know how we have this stereotype in Nigeria about if a child talks a lot, they'll say you need to go and become a lawyer. You talk too much, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that stereotype started since I was like 5 years old. So they started telling me very early that you need to become a lawyer, you talk too much. And guess what? I internalized it. So by the
Hmm.
time I was 10, if you now ask me, what do you want to become when you grow up? I'll tell you I want to become a lawyer.
Lawyer. Yeah, because people have been speaking that word to you
Exactly.
and
So
you
I
are able to
internalized it.
internalize it. And
Yes.
it goes back to what you were saying about parents should be careful what they say to
What
their
they say.
children. And it's not just parents, even friends,
Yeah,
siblings,
adult. What you
teachers,
allow,
everyone. Mm.
So that was
Okay.
how I internalized I'm going to study law. And
Okay.
so I basically just had this one track. And gosh, my friends know this. I have a one track mind. If I'm going to do something, that's it. So I just basically said, okay, I'm going to study law. And then all of a sudden, of course, I started seeing human rights injustices around me up and down. So
Hmm.
it got tired in the house because every small thing I'll remind them that that is just not right and it is just
Yes.
not fair.
And you
And you
want to
cannot
fix
be
it.
yes, and you cannot be taking advantage of me because
Save
I'm
the
the youngest.
world.
so so that's how I ended up wanting to study law.
Study law.
Now my dad, though, he is the kind of person who expands your dreams, right?
Okay.
Um, yeah, my dad's a dream expander. I tell him all the time,
Dream
like,
expander. Hmm.
don't fool me. Because I will share what how to do with you now. You expand it, it's bigger than my head. Stop it. So when I came up with, I really want to do this law thing. My dad said, okay, so So that'd be great. So when you do this whole lot thing, so what will your masters be in? I was probably what 10 years old,
10
and
years.
we're already talking about what will your masters be in. So I
Wow.
was like, so what do you think? And he was like, okay. So this law degree, what do you want to do with it? I was like, we need to fight human rights abuses. So it was like, okay, so international human rights. So okay, so international law sounds like would be a great fit for your masters. So pretty much my trajectory was set by the time I was
What's
12.
that? Wow. Wow.
It was set by
That's
the time I was
great.
12.
That's
Mm-hmm.
great. And I'm happy that you were able to follow through that dream, or,
Okay.
that seed that was planted in you since you were a little child. I have another question about, what advice would you give to parents that have children with disabilities? What specific resources do you think that they can access? Because this can be very, very stressful to
It
raise
is.
children
It
with
is.
disability.
It
So
is.
give me concrete steps or practical tips that parents can use, parents with disability, with children with disability. How can they cope? Some coping strategies or practical tips that you could share with them.
So the first thing, right, is okay. First, let me backtrack and talk about how you actually get through
Hmm.
doing a 6 year. I mean, because law is a 6 year degree in Nigeria. Because five
Yeah.
years in the university, 1 year in the law school.
Mm-hmm.
There's the power of safety nets. You can't take away the
Hmm.
power of safety nets
What do
in
you mean
all of
by
the things
that?
that and I will explain on all of the things that I was able to do. Anybody who went to Grenadian University, and I know that some of them are watching, they were actually even in my class, and they are watching right now, knows that when we were there between 2002 and 2007, water
Mm-hmm.
did not run in girls' hostel.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and because what and I say this example not to denigrate, but to show you the power of safety nets. When
Hmm.
I got into school, those were
Hmm.
some of the things that I remember the first day when I resumed. My dad took me personally to school, right? And then he got there, they assigned my accommodation. He followed me to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, of course, perceptive, just looking around, it was obvious that there was there were water storage things all over the place. So it was obvious that looks like there's a water scarcity
Shortly.
shortage going
Mm-hmm.
on around here. So he asked. And the other students were like, yeah, the tanker brings water from time to time and we have to store. So my dad, he pauses because he then knows that he has a daughter who has a physical disability and will
Might not
struggle
be
with
able
that.
to go fetch water.
So he asks them another follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so when tanker doesn't bring water, how do you get water? And they're like, oh, we buy water from water vendors. My dad goes, where are they? And they point them out to him. So he goes to them and asks them, how much is a keg of water? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember at the time it was 15 naira. So I think the vendor said, oh, 15 naira per keg. And my dad says, okay. And when my dad is leaving, my dad says to me, so we already sorted out what my pocket money was going to be before we left Lagos. I think he did basically just says to me, what's 15 naira times 30 days? And I'm like, uh
1,500.
1,005. And then he goes, okay, here's 1,005. That's your water allowance for the month. Because water is not going to be the reason you didn't go to class.
Hmm. So he eliminated all excuses.
That's the thing. That's the power of safety net.
Hmm.
It's saying it's because he could have simply said you can't do this. And I had people say to me, I remember when we went to write the exam to get into Ignatia University, during the interview, there were 4 men on the panel and they all said to me, this school is not made for people like you.
What? Why did they
Oh yeah.
say
I walked into the room with a limp. Come on. Oh
oh wow.
yeah, and said to me, this school is not made for people like you. Well, I retorted, watch me last 5 years. Um One of them ended up being my lecturer in second year. He was shocked. I will never forget the day he walked into the class and went, you're still here.
Oh wow.
And I
But
was
that's
like,
the meaning.
yeah, but again, well, somebody had to. Again, it's a question of their worldview, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they did not expect. I mean, where they're coming from, people
Hmm.
like me don't go to school.
They don't even give them opportunities.
They don't even see them. So the fact that, I mean, let's even backtrack. We're talking about lecturers. Let's talk about fellow students. I remember my first week in uni. I would come out of my room to work because you literally have to come out of the hostel. You walk to the hostel gate, and that's where you get the cab to go to class. And I'll come out of my room to walk to the hostel gate, and fellow girls would be lining the streets to stare.
Wow.
Yes, because in their worldview, people like me were not supposed to be on a university campus. And so the fact that I was there, I was the first student with a significant disability in my school. After me, yes, there was a horde of students with disabilities, but I was the first experiment, literally, of
Wow.
significant disability in the school. And
And how
so
did that make you feel?
I actually kind of felt like a rock star, even though it did.
Oh, look at
Yeah,
that.
even though it put a lot of pressure on me because I then realized that this was make or break. If I did not do well, I was going to give the school an
You have to
excuse.
do well. Yes.
Yeah, I had to do well. And that's been my burden my entire life. I kind of carry burden for an entire generation because if I don't do this well, people are
Hmm.
going to continue to perpetuate the stereotype that people like me can't do well. So when
Wow.
people say to me, you work too hard, I say, you don't understand what I'm up against. I'm
Hmm.
up against a major stereotype that has been perpetuated for
For
decades.
years,
It
and
has
you're
been
ready.
perpetuated for centuries, and I have to basically correct it. I have to show the world that yes, there are some people like me who might not be
Mhm.
able to do these things, but that is not the single story of people with cerebral palsy. And it was hard. I mean, it's never easy. You're a first year
Yeah.
student in university, and
Mhm.
girls are jumping out of their rooms in towels and nightwears to basically just stare and run commentary on your life. They don't even know you. And they're just going, where is this one coming from? I remember somebody even saying, God forbid, if this one was born in my family, they would have killed that since. I mean, I heard it and passed. Like,
Are you serious?
yeah, I heard it and walked past. Like, wow. Like, in my mind, I was like, you'll be all right. My parents pay school fees for me to come out and learn. I'm not even going to pay attention to this. And then,
Wow.
but again, it was good. It was a good experience in the sense that what it taught me was that my mom was right
Hmm.
when she basically continued to tell me that it was my muscles that were impaired and not my brain, and I needed to use my brain over my body. And I knew that I had. I mean, it's good when people underestimate you, Sha, because then you can just rise up to the plate and just show them that they are being silly.
Hmm.
Which was my job description throughout uni. Like they would basically say you can't do that or you won't be able to do that, and then I'll show them how it's done. Just
Hmm.
that's just how it is. And then
Oh,
like a friend of mine will say, Toby will show you how it's done and take pictures for evidence.
I like that. You show them how it's done and you take picture for evidence.
Because it's important.
Since you graduated from uni, have you
Yeah.
been back there
No,
to
I haven't. I actually haven't been back, and I honestly, that reminds me that I need to plan a trip. I haven't been
you need
back.
to go on a trip and actually present them with a proposal or something they can a template
Yeah,
they can use to help
to
them
make
include
yeah.
people with disabilities, even if it's something as simple as having the ADA ramps. I'm not sure if they have it over there.
Yeah, we
Something
do. We have a few schools that have it.
okay,
And yeah, they did become more welcoming. I remember that in my second year, by the time I was going to my second year,
okay,
there were a lot more students with disabilities coming into first year. And I remember that my roommates who had gone to do because the school has this welcoming committee thing they do where they use like
mhm,
current students to welcome like new students.
okay.
So my friends who had been like part of the welcoming thing came back to the room and were like, Toby, see what you've caused. And I was like, what did I do? I've not left this room all day. Oh." And they're like, do you know the number of students on crutches and different things that are just inside the school? I was like, so how's that my fault? They're like, is it not your fault for passing?
That's hilarious.
I was like, well, yeah. I mean, so wait, so because someone is on crutches, does that mean that they don't have a right to an education? I mean,
Wow.
you guys need to
We,
like
we
get
do
you know
have a
get
long way to go. We do have a
get with
long
the
way to go.
program.
You've not answered my question.
I will. I mean,
But
I'm
we'll
getting
go
to
on
it.
break. We have to go on break now. And when we
Okay.
come back, you would answer my question on giving parents practical tips when they have children with disabilities. And Quinette is also asking you that you should tell us about a lecturer who said you wouldn't get into our class. So we'll go
Oh,
on
yeah.
break now, and when we come back, we'll answer those two questions. Stay tuned.
Hello, sweets.
Hi, babe. What's the matter with you? What are you looking for?
Where is she?
She what?
Where did you hide her?
I don't understand. Don't you trust
Where
me?
did you put the girl? Where's the lady?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I know the smell of your house. What I perceive is quite different. It's charming, it's alluring, it's sweet, it's acting. Where is she?
Okay? This is she.
She?
Yes.
How? She? Feminine? Nice. Where did you get this from?
Got it from a friend.
Nice one.
Yes. You can use Femnit's air freshener to get your girlfriend jealous.
Seriously?
Welcome back to the Power Woman series. This is a platform where power women across the world come to share their authentic, insightful, and transformational stories to inspire, motivate, and encourage others to live a life beyond ordinary. My name is Sheon Akinloton, and with me today is Tobiloba Ajayi. She is a disability management advocate that is based in Lagos, Nigeria. So, Tobiloba, you had pending questions from before we took the break, and the questions were: one, what advice would you give to parents that are raising children with disabilities? I am asking for practical tips that you can share with them, and also Quinette Enilama said that you should tell us about the lecturer that said that you won't get into our class. And if you are just joining us, please do share this video and invite your friends to join the conversation.
Okay. 1 second. So now let's talk practical tips, right?
Yes.
Each disability is different, so how you're going to manage it is different. But practical things: number one, understand your child's condition.
Okay. It looks like we're having technical issues. It looks like we're having technical issues, and we'll bring her back. But in the meantime, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, my own experience with someone living with disability. I remember when I was in elementary school, we used to have not really my neighbor, but someone that lived very close to my house that would come over to pick myself and my sisters up to go to school. So we used to go to school together, and it dawned on me that God is a really great God, because even though this person was with disability, his parents were doing everything to make sure that he had a good life, and they tried to send him to school. They tried to encourage him. But when we got to school, this guy, or this boy at that time, actually experienced a lot of bullying, and people would be singing, they have different songs that they will be singing for him, and guess what this boy will do? He will be singing back. So I think it's always important that parents do the bulk of the job before that child steps out into the world, because the world can be dangerous and people can say different things that can hurt a child. Yes, people can say different things that can hurt a child. So it's really important that as parents, even if our children don't have disability, we need to be on top of our kids. We need to always speak positivity into them and also raise them to be independent as much as we can. Because no matter how you protect your child, guess what? They are still going to go out there. And the only thing that your child can do at that point is to control how they react. They can't really control how people treat them outside. So whether your child has disability or not, it is your responsibility as parents to build up your child. Make sure that you fortify them with good words, prayers, and let them know that they are the best and they can conquer the world. Because when they go out there, the world is wicked. Yes, Ifedapo says that parents should teach their children empathy. A lot of people don't have empathy because they've not experienced it. They've not experienced the difference. So when they see people that are significantly different from them, they tend to, some people resort to mocking, some people resort to bullying, some people resort even to distancing. They distance themselves from those kids. So we need to teach our children empathy. So if you are a parent that have a child, teach them empathy. They are going to see different types of people out there. The world is filled with different types of people. We can't all be the same. QT says it is your responsibility as a parent to give the tools to fight the world. Absolutely. I believe so much in that. And that's one of the stories I tell personally. Like, if my parents didn't raise me well, it would have been hard for me to settle down where I am. It would have been hard for me to even think of raising a family. Maybe I would have said, you know what, I'm packing my bags and going back home. This is too hard for me to do. So yes, let's bring back Tobiloba. She's here with us and she's ready to answer the question. Thank you.
Right. So, yeah, sorry, I'm back. Now, let's talk practical tips. Number one, understand your child's condition. I'm honestly getting to the point where next time I hear another parent say, I don't know what is wrong with my child, I'm going to almost scream. If your child, I mean, mother's intuition, people, you already know something is wrong even before the doctor tells you something is wrong. So, can you, I mean, trust me, mothers know these things. And so, when you get a diagnosis, please, Google is your friend, because
Exactly. Educate yourself.
educate yourself.
yourself.
And then, but then again, how you educate yourself. Also, be careful what you consume as parents.
I think that's key too.
Be careful what you consume. Make sure that you then look for what I like to call the best case scenario of your child's condition.
Not the worst case scenario, because then you can tend to dwell on the negative side and it affects your psyche and it makes you accept any type of solution that is brought your way because it leads you into desperation.
Exactly. So again, look for positive role models for your journey, because your journey, especially if you're raising a child with a developmental disorder like cerebral palsy, is lifelong. It does not have a cure. Sorry. So
So all those people telling you to go to the miracle pastors,
they'll be all right. It does not have a cure. I mean, I mean, minus a miracle shop, but looking for a medical cure, it does not exist. Right. So look for positive role models for yourself as a parent. Positive role models for yourself as a parent, and positive role models for your child too. And then also as a parent, join a support group if you can, because the journey is long and the journey can be quite exhausting.
Yes.
And it's helpful to know that you're not alone on the journey.
Do you have examples of support groups that parents can join?
Yes, I mean, there are support groups online for parents. There's one that comes to mind right now, is a Facebook group called Super Parents. It's actually a Facebook group for parents raising children with disabilities. Even those of us that are living with disability themselves have our own support groups. I mean, I have a cerebral palsy support group that I am a part of. I'm hardly there to I'd go there to read comments and stuff, but yeah. But it's actually good to, be in a group like that where we all have cerebral palsy and we can talk about things that most people will not understand. So support groups are powerful. And then also begin to set goals for your child. I think that's what happens to a lot of parents, is they get so fixated on what the child cannot do
They
or
forget
like,
what the child can do.
and then they even forget that the child is a child. I'm sorry.
And
The
they
child
probably
becomes
forget
a-
that the child can actually do something.
no,
There's
they forget the child is a child. The child becomes a project.
hmm.
I don't understand.
Wow.
The child becomes a serious project. It becomes a task to tick off. I
Hmm.
need to get this child working. I need to get this child talking. So child becomes a list of tasks instead of actually raising a child.
Instead of actually raising a child and paying attention even to the emotional
Mm-hmm.
needs of the child.
Mm-hmm.
That is so tough. That is so
So
tough.
again, I mean, you need to set. I mean, while I understand the need for your child to like attain developmental milestones and things,
Mm-hmm.
that goes beyond that. I mean, do you want your child to like? I remember somebody saying, yes, it's good for the child to work, but there are many. Okay, I think it was Queen who said there are many people working that are nuisances on the road. So please, working is overrated.
It's overrated. Do you know? When I had my own daughter, she didn't work early. My daughter
Mhm.
was a late worker, and
Okay, you're lucky that you're not in Nigeria because they would have had
I was
30.
I was almost dying because I was looking at her. She was about to turn 2, and
Okay,
she wasn't working. She could crawl, but
yeah,
she just wouldn't.
because she just wouldn't work.
She just wouldn't work. I
Aha.
was I was traumatized. I had to go to the children's hospital. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia is like the biggest
Yes, yeah.
specialized children hospital. I remember going there because I was under so much pressure. I remember going there, and the doctor, they did all scans,
Yes.
X-ray, and everything. And the doctor was showing me the result of the X-ray, saying she's fine. She's going
Fine.
to walk. When I said, you have to give me something. You have to give
Nothing they
me
want to give
something.
you. When the child will walk. I
So
mean,
listen, the doctor eventually gave me a prescription. There's a metal that could
mm,
be placed inside of the shoes because
in
I
our
noticed
shoes
that when she places her feet on the
on the
ground,
ground.
her feet doesn't face forward. She kind of like
Or
puts her feet on the ground.
send them yeah.
So the metal was supposed to be placed inside her shoes so
Our
that
shoes.
whenever she's tempted to twist the foot to the right or to the left, that
Yeah,
metal
like,
would prevent her. So gladly, I went to the store or to the
and God.
distribution center, and they said $600 per metal. I said, "What?"
Mhm.
I couldn't
Careful are expensive.
afford it, and maybe if I was able to afford, I would have bought it. But I had to, go back home. And I'm sharing this because that is just a child that was about to turn 2, and I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling so
And
much
you're freaking out.
pressure and pain. I'm like, wow, how can a child want to turn 2 and not be able to work? So I'm sharing this because I understand a lot of parents when they are trying to find a solution for their kids or they make them a project. So that is
Yeah.
why it's important that as the parent is trying to make sure that the child is okay, the parents should also try as much as possible to make sure that they themselves are okay.
Oh
And
yeah.
if I were to turn back the hands of time and do something differently, it would be that I would not let what people were saying affect me because you hear those side comments. Oh,
Of
that's the
course.
woman Tiomwe Orinye. I'm saying
Mhm.
that now. That's the woman that our child refused to work.
Not working. And
And
that's the
a
thing.
doctor actually approached me and told me that my child is going to be on crutches. I heard different
Mm,
things. I'm serious. I heard different things.
mm,
One of my very
really?
good friends, she said before she knew me, she has been hearing about one woman that had a
Ah,
child that is not working.
wow.
Yeah, that is how
That
stories.
is why we have to calm
Yeah,
down. People should just calm down, please. It's not
and
that deep yet.
it's a tough place to be. So I definitely understand the plight of parents, and I truly pray that anyone that is going through tough times or they're trying to make their child get over one disability or the other, I relate with them. I might not be able to relate fully, because my child eventually did walk, but I do relate with them because it's a tough place to be. Yeah, and it's just like a woman that is trying to get pregnant. It's a very tough place to be.
So it's
And
important to hit acceptance early. Now, it's not to say that I'm not saying give up on getting your child to improve, especially with cerebral palsy. Like, improvement is lifelong, so you're going to continue to teach your child skills. I mean, there's still things I'm still learning.
okay.
I was joking that I didn't. It was during the lockdowns I finally learned how to use my left hand, like the whole fork and knife thing. Like,
Yes,
you guys,
yes. Well, don't
I never.
compare yourself with that, because there are some people that don't have disability that cannot use their fork and knife. It's an etiquette thing.
No, so it was just because I could never use my left hand, right? So I've
Okay.
always been a one-handed, and I was fine with just using my one. But then my mom kept, trying to teach me to use it, and then when she passed, I just shelved that part of it. Like, can't kill me. But eventually, I mean, I finally have mastered certain skills, and I've mastered them in adulthood. So brain plasticity goes on till adulthood. You can continue to teach your child skills continually, but don't get fixated on those things that they cannot do at the expense of the things that they can, because when you do that, you lose time that you can't get back. So yes, I know that you're working on therapy, you're waiting for the child to sit, for the child to stand, for the child to walk, and all those things. But don't lose out on the things the child is doing already at the expense of the things that
Already.
you cannot do. I mean, it's always breaks my heart. I mean, this in the last couple of weeks, I've been meeting a lot of families that are raising teenagers with cerebral palsy, and these teenagers have no skills.
No
And
skill.
yes, and it's been very heartbreaking for me. And a lot of the times when I start talking to the parents and I'm like, how did we get here? It was that they got so fixated on, and he's not sitting, and he can't stand, and he's not talking. And so they got so fixated on all those things that they missed out on everything else
Missed out
that
on
was
the things they
possible.
could have helped the
Yeah.
child. Wow.
And things that they could have
Our
helped the
time
child
is
do.
fast spent. Our time is fast spent. I still want you to answer Queenette's question, or she
Oh,
wanted you to tell a story about a lecturer that
oh yeah,
refused
it was
to
my
let you
jeans.
pass. So can you please
Jeans.
answer that in 30 seconds?
It was just a lecturer who honestly felt like I had no business being in her class. Like,
Why would
why
she feel
would,
that way?
I mean, she didn't understand how a student with a disability will be trying to study law. Like, it was her worldview. Like, why?
Wow.
Well, I ended up in her class. She could not chase me out. Ew. And I
Wow.
ended up graduating. So, well, she's all right. Yeah,
Wow.
because that, like I said, it's worldview, and
It's a worldview,
unfortunately,
perception.
unfortunately, it puts pressure on top people like us who then are trying to correct it
Mm,
and show people that there's a different side of the story to this story. But
mm.
again, I've learned not to get upset. I've just realized that people, a lot of the times when people do these things, they're not trying to be insensitive. They just don't know better.
They
And if
don't know
people
better.
don't
But
know better, they can't
not
do
knowing
better.
better, is it an excuse? Because
Yeah.
ignorance, is it really an excuse?
See, I've learned to extend grace to people.
Hmm.
I've
Extend.
learned to
I love
extend
that.
grace.
Mm.
um I'm a huge recipient of grace, so I've learned to extend grace. If people don't know better, they can't do better. So I tell people that when people are ignorant like that and they express their ignorance publicly, I take it as an opportunity to educate
To
them. I
educate
mean,
them.
yeah, I just educate. I just explain it to you. So I understand that this is the. I mean, the reason I knew that we had a huge problem was I was talking to a group of teenagers a year or two ago, and
Okay.
I had been their peer mentor for 3 days. And after the third day, the convener of the event had them have like a accountability session. What have you learned? What has been your biggest takeaway? And two teenagers said that their biggest takeaway is the fact that it's possible to have a disability and not be begging on the streets. I'm talking about teenagers in 2018.
Wow. Are you
So
serious?
yes, and the truth was that it was a function of their worldview. That's all they knew. If you had a
Hmm.
disability, you're supposed to be begging on the streets. And then all of a
Wow.
sudden, this person with a disability shows up and she's their peer mentor and she has been peer mentoring them for 3 whole days. They were like, they actually said, Auntie, no offense, so but, and I was like, go ahead, say it.
Wow.
our biggest takeaway so far, all these English people have been speaking since. The only thing we've just been looking at is this auntie because I'm wondering why she's not taking on the street. But that
Wow.
was all they knew. And so for them, I know that they're going to take that away and go into their community and then say
And then
there's a possibility for something different. And
wow.
so yeah, so I just honestly believe that it's an opportunity to educate, and so we take it.
And I agree with you. As many people as we can, educate and enlighten, we should definitely do that. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. However, when you know better, you do better. That's by Quinette. And I think
Yeah.
she's reinforcing the comment that you made.
Mhm.
I wish we had more time, but as they say, time does fly. Before you
Yeah.
go, I have two quick questions for you, and I hope that you can answer it in 30 seconds. And the first one
Okay.
will be that you are the author of 3 books. Who are your target audience for these books? And how can people get the book? And then, what's your definition for success in life? 30 seconds, because we're running out.
Well, my definition for success is to fulfill purpose. Really, it's to find why you're here, and it's to pour your life into doing that.
Okay.
That's what success is. Okay, I'm gonna correct that. I'm an author of 4 books. I think
4
I
books?
sometimes forget because
You
we
told me,
launched
you told me 3 books.
we launched the 4th one. We launched the 4th one a couple of weeks ago, so it hasn't gone into my belly yet.
Where can people buy it from?
Amazon is your friend. If you are in the
Amazon.
US,
Okay.
yes. Amazon is your friend if you're in the US, and we do also have a store on Flutterwave store if you're in Nigeria. So
Okay.
yeah, there's
Okay.
options for.
All right. Thank you very, very much for being my guest today on the Power Woman series. Is there anything you would like to say? Is there anything else in 10 seconds?
I would just say, do not lose intellect on the altar of muscles.
Do not lose intellect on the altar of muscles. Wow.
Yeah,
I think I understand what you mean. Do not lose
the
intellect on
parents
the
I'm
altar.
speaking to know what I'm talking about.
Yes, and I hope that they are watching. All right, then. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Tobiloba, for being my guest, and thank you for sharing. I wish you all the best in all you do. And
Thank
until
you.
next time, I would say be exceptional, be intentional, and be on point. Bye bye.